Welcome to Sit With Me again this week. This week's going to be a little bit unique. I don't have a guest today. I am just going to be doing a little solo episode. I wanted to take a little bit of time and share some of the things that I've been learning from the wonderful guests that have been on. First off, I've been so impressed with them. They are deeply resilient, honest, and the thing that's been just so striking to me is how joyful they have been despite challenges that they have had in their life. And I've just been really inspired by them. What stands out is that no one's really sitting around blaming others. There's reflection and not resentment, which is really powerful. When I started out this podcast, my goal was not necessarily to embark on this research project, but I feel like I have really learned a lot. I've come away even more curious about certain things. I've been surprised by things, and I wanted to share some of those with you in a short little episode today. So, the first thing I wanted to talk about that has been the most surprising thing for me, I think that I thought belonging had to be curated, it had to be intentionally designed and brought into spaces to foster this idea and a sense of belonging. And what I have come to find is that belonging begins with the self. You can't feel at home with others if you don't actually feel at home with yourself. And so it's not about being perfect, but it's being grounded in your worth, knowing to who you belong and who you are. I think that if you don't believe that you're good, then no space will be able to convince you. Otherwise, you have to start with yourself. Maya Angelou has a quote that is going to come across probably a little vague, but I would love to share with you and then tell you how I interpret it. But she said that you are only free when you realize you belong no place. You belong every place, no place at all. The price is high, the reward is great. So for me, it seems that true belonging doesn't come from fitting in. It comes from freedom. It's the recognition that in belonging nowhere, you belong everywhere. You belong to this world, you belong to self. And I think that there is a lot of power in that and recognizing that you don't have to fit into a space to belong. If you can be good with yourself, you can be grounded in your worth, then you belong everywhere. And I think it's really easy for us to opt out ourselves before anyone even excludes us. Yes, I will also address that there's definitely places where we are excluded and people are unkind and people are unaware and people do that. But I think that we can eliminate a lot of problems ourselves by addressing our inner self before we even address the other spaces that need work. So, one, belonging begins with self. The second thing is that belonging is built and not found. Belonging isn't a place that you discover, it's a place that you help create. And for me, I have found that the places that I feel this sense of belonging are because I've put the work in myself. You can't expect for someone to create a place and curate something for you. I think sometimes we think we'll stumble into the right group and then we'll belong, but it doesn't work like that. Belonging is built through intention. I think it's built through consistency, and most importantly, it's built through vulnerability. If we're waiting to feel invited without fully showing up ourselves, I think we'll miss belonging, and it can be right in front of us. We have to remember that it's not going to take someone coming to us. We have to go there ourselves, which is hard, and I recognize that and acknowledge that. But we have to be willing to do that. The third thing is being curious and not cautious. I think we have really fallen into this narrative that asking questions is offensive. But I think that's fairly true if we're sincere. Of all the people that I have spoken to or heard their story, they have been so gracious and grateful for someone being willing to ask them about the hard parts of their life, the things that really have added value to their life and are such a big part of their life that people are generally uncomfortable talking to them about. I think when met with genuine curiosity, people love to share their story. And you don't need perfect words. I think just being intentional, humble, and being present and willing to listen is really powerful. Yes, I also get that sometimes that requires social skills, and if you need to work on that, then start there. But I think just being intentional and humble is all you really need to ask those questions. So don't be afraid to ask the people in your family or close friends that have things going on in their life that you feel like are a touchy subject. Generally, people feel lonely about those things. and really would like to talk about them and want to share what they think and how things are going, what they believe about things. And so be willing to ask that. Be willing to ask the hard questions. I think is where we can connect over vulnerability. The last thing is that belonging doesn't mean fitting in. In fact, I think they're in opposition of each other. Fitting in is about meeting expectations, and belonging is about being accepted for who you are. Belonging is about being authentic to yourself, whereas fitting in is doing the exact opposite. It's changing who you are so you can be perceived as fitting into this group. We don't create belonging by helping people fit. I think we create it by recognizing that they already do. If we can address and acknowledge that we belong to ourselves, then hopefully we'll be able to address and acknowledge that other people belong as well. And that's not to say that you're perfect the way you are and that authenticity is the most important thing, but there's space to say I can improve and become a better person and learn. But to just fundamentally say I as a human being, separate from my identities, belong, I think is powerful and the most important place to start. Anyway, I was hoping for this to be a short episode, so I'm gonna close now and go over those things. I think belonging starts inside, it starts within. It's built and not stumbled upon. You have to be intentional, you have to create it for yourself. And it thrives on curiosity and being willing to have conversations about things that are important to us. I would love for you to reflect for a little bit and think about, where have you been waiting to find belonging instead of building it? Are there spaces in which you're saying, I just hope someone's going to come up and say hi to me. I hope someone's going to invite me to this. I hope that we can find a group of friends. I'm going to think about those spaces in which you've been waiting to find the belonging instead of starting out and building it yourself. I would love to hear some of your experiences on when you've been able to create that belonging for yourself. So let me know what some of your thoughts are. But I've really enjoyed being able to do this podcast. And I know that I really thought just my mom and dad would be listening to this. And there's just a few more of you that are listening. And so I appreciate you being here. And for me, it's been powerful to hear people's stories and challenge my beliefs about certain things, or just like my perceptions of the world and our community. And so it's been very good for me. So thanks for being along for the ride, and we'll get back into some stories next week.